There is a person in your life, or there was, who you never told, not because you did not feel it, but because something inside you simply could not form the words. And the strangest part? That feeling did not feel like weakness. It felt like protection. Today, I want to tell you exactly what was happening inside you and why the most deeply feeling people are often the most completely silent ones. There is a psychological term for this, alexithymia. It is not a disorder, it is a trait, and researchers estimate that approximately 1 in 10 people experience it in some form. It is the inability to identify and express emotional states in words, not because the emotion is not there. The emotion is entirely there, often more intensely than in people who express easily. But the bridge between feeling and language, that bridge is narrower. Sometimes it is barely there at all. But alexithymia is only part of the picture. The other part is attachment silence, a pattern that forms in childhood. When a child grows up in an environment where expressing love was met with inconsistency, sometimes warmth, sometimes withdrawal, sometimes nothing, the brain learns a devastating equation. Expressing love creates vulnerability. Vulnerability creates pain. Therefore, silence is safety. That child grows into an adult who feels everything and says almost nothing, not because they chose silence, because their nervous system decided, long before they were old enough to have a choice, that silence was the only way to survive love. Here's what makes this genuinely heartbreaking. The people who love most silently are often the ones who love most completely, because they are not distributing their love casually, in easy words, in automatic gestures. Every feeling they carry stays inside them, full and unspoken, growing heavier with time. They notice everything. The way you take your tea, the specific way you laugh at something that actually surprises you versus something that is just polite, the small things you mentioned once and forgot, they remembered. They just couldn't say any of it out loud. And here's the cruelest part of this psychology. The person on the receiving end, they often never know. They feel a slight distance, a strange unavailability. They interpret the silence as indifference, as not being valued, and slowly they pull away, and the silent lover watches them go, feeling everything, saying nothing, because the same mechanism that stopped them from saying, "I love you," also stopped them from saying, "Please don't leave." I think we've built a world that rewards expressive love and makes silent love feel like a failure. We celebrate the grand gesture, the spoken declaration, the person who says it first, loudest, most poetically. And somewhere in that culture, the quiet ones got the message that their way of loving was not enough. But I want to say something that I genuinely believe. Silent love is not lesser love. It is often the most careful love, because the person who cannot say it is the person who takes it most seriously. They know, perhaps better than anyone, how much weight those words carry, and they refuse to say them carelessly. The tragedy is not that they feel too little. The tragedy is that they feel so much, they do not trust words to hold it. There's one more thing happening that almost no one talks about: fear of permanence. When you say something out loud, it becomes real. It enters the world. It can be responded to, accepted, or rejected. As long as it stays inside you, it remains perfect, untouched. The feeling exists in a protected space where it cannot be damaged by the other person's reaction. Psychologists call this anticipatory grief, grieving a loss before it happens. The silent lover is not just afraid of rejection, they're afraid of losing the feeling itself. Because if they say it and it goes wrong, they lose both the person and the last safe place that feeling lived. So the silence is not avoidance, it's preservation. If you are someone who loves silently, I'm not going to tell you to simply speak up. That advice, while well-meaning, ignores the entire nervous system history that created the silence in the first place. Instead, one small thing: find the smallest possible way to let it be known. Not the declaration, not the full sentence, the smallest true gesture that requires just slightly more courage than you used yesterday. A message you actually send instead of drafting and deleting. Staying in the room a little longer than feels comfortable. The nervous system does not change through grand decisions, it changes through small repeated acts of safety. Every small act of expression that does not end in the pain your brain predicted slowly rewrites the equation, slowly, quietly, the same way the silence was built. Is there someone right now who doesn't know how much they mean to you? You don't have to answer that out loud, but sit with it for a moment. Because the person who needs to hear something from you, they're probably sitting somewhere right now, wondering if they matter to you at all.